What if the most disturbing parts of The Shining weren't hidden in the ghosts, but buried in the decisions behind the camera? What if the unease people feel decades later comes from details that were never explained, never emphasized, and never corrected? Stanley Kubrick didn't build this film to be solved. He built it to resist certainty. Beneath its slow pacing and controlled performances are deliberate contradictions, quiet manipulations, and choices that deny the audience stability. These are not trivia points or production accidents. They are structural decisions that shaped how the film unsettles viewers long after it ends. Fact number 1. The Overlook Hotel is spatially impossible. The layout of the Overlook Hotel cannot exist in real space. Hallways lead nowhere. Windows appear in rooms that should be surrounded by interior corridors. The manager's office contains a large window despite being located deep inside the building. Kubrick was aware of these inconsistencies and refused to correct them. The effect is subtle, but cumulative. Viewers subconsciously register that the space cannot be trusted. The hotel feels stable at first, then gradually wrong. This spatial disorientation mirrors Jack Torrance's psychological breakdown. The building itself becomes unreliable, not through overt horror, but through architectural contradiction. The audience is never told this directly. They are meant to feel it without explanation. The hotel does not trap characters physically, it traps perception. Fact number 2. The film actively works against emotional identification. Kubrick deliberately suppresses emotional cues. There is minimal use of reaction shots. Music often arrives before danger, not during it. Performances are restrained, sometimes flat. This denies the audience a guide on how to feel. Jack's descent lacks clear turning points. Wendy's fear escalates without relief. Danny rarely verbalizes what he understands. By removing emotional signposts, Kubrick prevents comfort. Viewers cannot settle into empathy or catharsis. The result is distance rather than immersion. The film does not invite identification. It enforces observation. This makes the horror feel colder and more invasive. You are not experiencing events alongside the characters. You are watching something unfold that refuses to acknowledge you. Fact number 3. The famous axe scene was technically wrong on purpose. In the staircase axe scene, Jack chops through a bathroom door using an axe head designed for chopping wood, not breaking doors. Jack Nicholson, who had experience as a volunteer fire marshal, pointed out that a fire axe should be used instead. Kubrick ignored this correction. The reason was visual, not practical. The wood-splitting axe fractures the door unevenly, creating jagged edges and slow progress. This elongates the scene and increases tension. Efficiency would have shortened the moment. Kubrick consistently favored discomfort over realism when the two conflicted. Accuracy was less important than sustaining dread. The mistake remains because it serves the film's rhythm. Fact number 4. Room 237 was changed to protect a real hotel. The room number was altered from Stephen King's original novel. Kubrick changed it to 237 after a real hotel requested protection. The concern was that guests would avoid a room associated with violence. Kubrick complied, but the change introduced new ambiguity. The number has no explanation in the film. It becomes a symbol without context. Viewers search for meaning where none is provided. This aligns with Kubrick's approach throughout the film. Details are placed carefully, then abandoned. The audience is trained to look for patterns that may not resolve. The room is frightening not because of what it represents, but because it refuses clarity. Fact number 5. Danny's sweater was not random. Danny's Apollo 11 sweater appears repeatedly throughout the film. Kubrick never explained its significance. He did not deny interpretations either. The image places American optimism and technological achievement inside a story about isolation, regression, and failure. The contrast is visual, not verbal. Kubrick often embedded symbols without commentary, allowing viewers to construct meaning or dismiss it entirely. The sweater becomes unsettling because it feels intentional but unresolved. Like many details in The Shining, it functions as a question without an answer. The film accumulates these elements, building unease through implication rather than explanation. Fact number 6. The film's pacing is designed to exhaust you. Kubrick extends scenes past their narrative necessity. Long tracking shots follow characters down empty hallways. Conversations linger after information is delivered. Silence stretches uncomfortably. This pacing wears down viewer resistance. The film does not rush toward scares, it delays them. By the time violence erupts, the audience is already unsettled. This exhaustion mirrors the isolation of the characters. Time in the Overlook does not pass normally. Days blur together. Routine becomes oppressive. The viewer feels this distortion physically. The film's length is not indulgent, it is strategic. Fact number 7. Jack Torrance is unstable from the beginning. Contrary to common memory, Jack does not transform gradually. His instability is present in the opening interview. His responses are controlled but unsettling. He smiles at inappropriate moments. His language is oddly formal. Kubrick plants this early so the descent feels inevitable rather than tragic. The hotel does not corrupt Jack. It removes restraint. This reframing eliminates ambiguity about his capacity for violence. The horror comes not from possession, but from exposure. The Overlook does not create monsters. It reveals them. Fact number 8. The ending refuses to resolve identity. The final photograph at the end of The Shining offers no explanation and provides no confirmation of what it represents. Jack appears in a crowded ballroom decades earlier, smiling directly at the camera, positioned as if he has always belonged there. The film does not clarify whether this image suggests reincarnation, possession, symbolic absorption, or something else entirely. Stanley Kubrick was repeatedly asked to explain the photograph and consistently refused to do so. That refusal was deliberate. The image functions as implication rather than resolution. It reframes everything that came before it without correcting any interpretation. Viewers are left to decide whether Jack was claimed by the hotel, always part of it, or simply rewritten into its history. The film offers no authority to settle the question. That uncertainty lingers because nothing contradicts it. The story does not conclude with an answer. It circles back on itself, reinforcing the idea that time in the Overlook does not move forward. It repeats. Fact number 9. The sound design creates fear before images do. Much of the unease in The Shining is established through sound rather than imagery. Low-frequency drones, distorted echoes, and reversed audio elements appear before any visible threat is introduced. The audience responds physically before understanding why. Kubrick used sound to bypass rational processing, allowing fear to register instinctively. Music often enters scenes too early or lingers too long, disconnecting it from clear cause and effect. Silence, when it arrives, feels unstable rather than calm. This conditions the viewer to distrust quiet moments and anticipate danger without visual confirmation. By the time violence occurs, the nervous system has already been primed. The fear does not feel external. It feels internal, as if generated by the environment itself. Kubrick does not use sound to heighten action. He uses it to erode certainty. The result is dread that arrives without explanation and remains without release. Fact number 10. The film was built to resist a single meaning. Stanley Kubrick structured The Shining so that no single interpretation could dominate the film. Psychological breakdown, supernatural influence, historical metaphor, and cyclical time all exist simultaneously, without confirmation or denial. Each reading appears supported, then destabilized. Kubrick believed that explanation weakened impact. Rather than guiding the audience toward meaning, he removed authority entirely. No interpretation is endorsed by the film itself. This design ensures that the experience remains unsettled. Viewers return to the film searching for answers that never arrive, only to find new contradictions. The film does not change over time, the interpretation does. That instability is intentional. Kubrick constructed a narrative that resists closure by design, preventing resolution from becoming fixed. Meaning is not delivered, it is negotiated repeatedly. The lack of a definitive explanation is not a puzzle to be solved, but a condition the film imposes. Uncertainty is not a byproduct, it is the structure. Fact number 11. Wendy's performance was meant to feel uneven. Shelley Duvall's performance was intentionally shaped to feel fragile and inconsistent. Kubrick did not want a traditionally resilient or composed character. Wendy is anxious, apologetic, and emotionally scattered from the beginning. This was not meant to frustrate the audience, but to destabilize them. A confident or assertive response to Jack would have created balance. Kubrick removed that balance. Wendy reacts rather than confronts. Her fear escalates without control or clarity. The result is discomfort rather than empowerment. Viewers are denied the relief of a strong counterforce. Wendy's behavior mirrors the environment, reactive, overwhelmed, and constantly adjusting. The film does not frame this as weakness or strength. It presents it as erosion. Stability disappears quietly, one moment at a time, without a dramatic breaking point. Fact number 12. The twins are shown as still not threatening. The twins are not aggressive. They do not chase. They do not scream. They stand still and wait. Their threat comes from stillness, not action. Kubrick frames them symmetrically, centered in the frame, unmoving. This violates typical horror language, where danger advances. Here, danger pauses. The girls speak calmly. They ask, rather than command. The violence associated with them is shown only in flashes, disconnected from time. This removes cause and effect. The audience never sees the act, only the implication. The twins are not monsters pursuing harm. They are reminders of harm already done. Their presence suggests repetition rather than escalation. The horror does not move forward. It repeats. Fact number 13. Mirrors are used to signal loss of control. Mirrors appear repeatedly at moments when characters lose psychological stability, but the film never calls attention to them directly. Jack speaks to Lloyd while framed by a mirror, splitting his image without comment. Danny encounters the horror of Room 237 first through reflection, not direct sight. These compositions are deliberate. Kubrick uses mirrors to divide identity visually rather than explain it verbally. The reflection is not treated as supernatural evidence. It does not confirm possession or alternate selves. Instead, it introduces uncertainty. Perception becomes unstable. Identity appears doubled without explanation. Characters rarely acknowledge what the mirror suggests. There is no reaction shot signaling awareness. That responsibility is left to the audience. The mirror does not reveal hidden truth. It destabilizes what appears solid. Control fragments quietly. By using reflections as compositional elements rather than narrative devices, Kubrick allows meaning to emerge without confirmation. The effect is subtle and persistent. What you see can no longer be trusted as singular. Fact number 14. The maze exists to externalize the hotel. The hedge maze is not simply a backdrop for the film's climax. It functions as a physical extension of the Overlook Hotel's internal logic. Inside the hotel, hallways stretch endlessly, spaces contradict themselves, and orientation breaks down. The maze replicates this structure outdoors. Long paths lead nowhere. Dead ends repeat. There are no visual hierarchies or clear markers. When the film moves outside, disorientation does not resolve. It intensifies. Jack's pursuit becomes circular rather than progressive. He moves, but never advances. Danny survives not through strength or confrontation, but through understanding repetition and reversal. He retraces steps. He disrupts pattern. This mirrors how the film operates as a whole. Meaning is not escaped. It is redirected. The maze does not function as a trap in a traditional sense. It exposes Jack's inability to adapt once repetition no longer favors him. The structure reveals character, not fate. Fact number 15. The film ends without declaring victory or defeat. The final moments of The Shining refuse to frame survival as triumph. Danny and Wendy escape the hotel, but there is no relief or emotional release, no reassurance that danger has passed. The Overlook remains intact. Time remains unstable. The final image does not confirm that the threat has been destroyed. It suggests continuity. The hotel endures. Jack's presence is absorbed rather than erased. Kubrick ends the film at the point where certainty collapses. The audience is not told what was defeated, what persists, or what was ever real. There is no clear resolution to the psychological, supernatural, or temporal questions raised throughout the film. The story does not close. It withdraws. Unease remains because nothing has been settled. The absence of victory is deliberate. Safety is never declared. Permanence replaces closure. The film ends not by resolving fear, but by allowing it to persist without explanation. The Shining endures because it never stabilizes. Every image, sound, and structural choice works to deny certainty rather than provide it. Kubrick does not guide interpretation or resolve contradictions. He allows them to coexist. What remains is not a story that concludes, but an experience that lingers. The film does not ask to be solved. It asks to be revisited. Each viewing rearranges meaning without settling it. That refusal to explain is not an omission. It is the design. The horror does not come from what the film shows. It comes from what it withholds.